Okay, gonna be a pretty straightforward video here on how to set up your notebooks for Chapter 11. Chapter 11 in your textbook is called Political Developments in the Early Republic, and that is indeed what we are going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about presidents, we're going to be talking about cabinets, we're going to be talking about the first political parties, and all things political. So if there is government involved, then it is probably political. Here is a blank page for page number 59. 59 is something we did in class, so please flip to page 59. It should not be blank for you. It should have all the timeline stuff that we did in class today, actually. Okay, you're going to flip it over on page 60 and just write this, that you're going to tape a geography skills map here. Okay, that's something that we're going to do in class the next time I see you. That's going to be on page number 60. Again, remember, if you ever want to pause and catch up to these videos, feel free to do so, but I'm going to keep moving on. Page 61, you're going to write Tape Geography Skills, a worksheet here. It's a two-sided worksheet, looks a lot like the ones you've been doing before. It's got some geography skills on one side and some critical thinking questions on the other. Let's go ahead and write that on page 61. Page 62 is where you set up your Chapter 11 table of contents. Okay, our first lesson is political developments of the early USA. Here is your table of contents page. As you can see here, I'm going to take you through where you're going to write your lesson objectives, your CNN, and your Chapter 11 vocab, and all that good stuff. Again, stop the video if you need to here. Okay, moving on. Page 63, this is where you write your date and lesson objective. I'm going to give you this notebook grading rubric in class the next time I see you, so you're going to go ahead and glue that when I give it to you. It'll give you a breakdown of how I'm going to be grading these notebooks, and for those of you who have good attention to detail, yes, this is now going to be worth 50 points, because there's going to be some more work in here that's being done, especially more homework type stuff. 122 was obviously, it's going to be either today for most of you or tomorrow for some, but we're going to do the timeline and geography skills. Here's your CNN page. You'll notice I took out the CNN processing page. Okay, so if you notice that's missing, then here's why, because I noticed that a lot of you weren't using it. No mas. Here you go, CNN 126 through 130. If you're in the red class, this is what yours is going to look like. Okay, 126, 27, 28, 29. I see the red class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you are in the green class, obviously I don't see you on Thursdays, so this is what yours looks like. 126, 27, 29, and 30. And if you're in the purple and blue class, 26, 28, 29, and 30. I don't see the purple or blue classes on Tuesdays. Again, stop the video if you need to, but I am moving on. Page 65 is going to be where you put your picto words and definitions for the Chapter 11 concepts. You'll notice I took out vocab and added the term concepts because a lot of these vocab words in this chapter are indeed concepts. They're not singular words. A lot of you missed points on this last time, so please make sure you complete this. Chapter 11 concepts, here you go. Number 1, Whiskey Rebellion. 2, Washington's Farewell Address. 3, Loose Construction. 4, Strict Construction. 5, Sedition. 6, Nullify. 7, States' Rights. That's on page 66. In case you haven't noticed, I'm going a little faster, so I want to make this a lot more efficient. Page 67, this is your essential question. Again, make sure you answer this at some point during the lesson. Okay, this is going to be kind of the overarching question that we ask ourselves. That question is, how did the Federalists, sorry, typo, Federalists, so it should read, there's a T there. How did the Federalists and Republican visions for the United States differ? Make sure you answer that. And Chapter 11, Introduction and Pre-Read, that's on page 68. I am going to have you answer these questions right now as I read you the introduction for Chapter 11. Okay, so as I am reading the introduction to you, make sure you take notes about the Chapter 11 introduction. So here we go. Take notes on page 68 as I read you the introduction for Chapter 11. Political developments in the early republic. How did the Federalist and Republican visions for the United States differ? 11.1 Introduction. The illustration to the left shows 4 leaders in the first government formed under the Constitution. On the far right stands former Continental Army General George Washington. You know what? I'm going to pull up this picture here so you can see it. So I'm going to keep reading. The illustration to the left, that's this illustration here, this is from your textbook. The illustration shows 4 leaders in the first government formed under the Constitution. On the far right stands former Continental Army General George Washington, who had been lured out of retirement to serve as the nation's first president. Seldom has a leader seemed more reluctant to take power. My movements to the chair of government, he wrote on leaving home, will be accompanied by feelings not unlike those of a culprit or criminal who was going to the place of his execution. Henry Knox sits opposite, that's this dude here, Henry Knox sits opposite Washington. During the American Revolution, this Boston bookseller became a general and Washington's close friend and advisor. When Washington became president in 1789, he made Knox his Secretary of War. Take a close look at the other 2 men portrayed here. Alexander Hamilton, who stands beside the president, this guy here who I've highlighted now, Alexander Hamilton served as Washington's Secretary of the Treasury. Thomas Jefferson, who stands behind Knox, served as Secretary of State. It was his job to manage relations between the United States and other countries. Washington chose Hamilton and Jefferson for these positions because of all they had in common. Both were strong patriots, both had served their country during the war. Hamilton in the Continental Army and Jefferson in the Continental Congress. Both had brilliant minds, but for all they had in common, the 2 men were opposites in many ways. Hamilton dressed with great care. Jefferson was sloppy with clothes. Hamilton moved with precision. Jefferson slouched. Hamilton was a doer who moved briskly from task to task. Jefferson was a thinker who took time to explore his ideas. As you will discover, Hamilton and Jefferson soon became political rivals. Their rivalry eventually gave rise to the nation's first political parties, which had different visions for the new nation. Okay, so if I read that too fast for you, here's a suggestion. Go ahead and stop the video now, and here is the text right here in its entirety. It's all right here. So go ahead and read this, and while you're reading this, take notes here on page 68. After you're finished taking notes, draw a line, and on the same page, complete your pre-read. Okay, the questions are right here. I'll blow them up full screen now. So you've got the pre-read questions right here, and you're going to go ahead and answer these questions before I see you next. If you need the entire Chapter 11, which you will, to complete the pre-read, it is attached as a PDF document to this video. But for those of you that can't open the PDF, I'm about to just scroll through the chapter so you can see what the headings are and flip ahead to the chapter summary. Again, think of it like a book, okay? Pause the video if you need to scan over the pages real quick, okay, as I scan through the pages. So here is Chapter 11. Okay, I'm now going to scroll through the pages. Again, pause it if you need to stop it and write down the headings. And while you're doing this, remember why it is that we pre-read, right? You're trying to get an idea of what the chapter is going to be about, what's going to be, what you're going to learn. Start asking yourself questions. Okay, we are going to talk about the French Revolution. We are going to talk about Washington's farewell address. That's one of the vocab words. We're going to talk about the Federalist Party. Remember the headings. Okay, the headings are not these little inserts here, right? But the headings are just the ones by the numbers. So Chapter 11, Section 5, this is a heading here. Talk about Jefferson and the Republicans. All right, and if you need, we're going to talk about John Adams, that's the second president, something called the Alien and Sedition Acts. Talk about the election of 1800, which was a big deal. The election of 1800. And a deadlock and new amendment. Sorry, I went a little fast there. Deadlock and a new amendment. And oh boy, looks like this last page is flipped. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can fix that here. This is the summary, by the way, so if you want to go ahead and rotate your head, that's the summary. But let me see if I can rotate this for you coming up, if my computer is fast enough. Okay, so if you need the summary, there you go. That's the chapter summary. Okay, so if you need the summary to finish your pre-read, there it is, right there. Okay. So next time I see you, you should have this notebook completely up to date with everything that I showed you here, and I'm going to be checking kind of each one of these pages to make sure that you have it, so that we can just fly through this stuff. All right, okay.